Hello and welcome to this episode of Community Voices Uganda here on Civic Space TV. My name is Phillip Mulissa. On this episode, we are having a conversation around the political activities that are happening in the country, and you and I may already know that between the 22nd and the 23rd of this month of October 2025, the Electoral Commission, in trying to fulfill all the processes and activities they have to do as they lead us into the general election in 2026, we're undertaking the nomination of members of parliament in the different constituencies and districts across the country, but also for special interest groups, that is the youth, the women, talk about the elderly and the persons with disabilities. And certainly we want to take stock of what transpired in the nomination process, but also make sense of what it actually means for the already active electoral cycle, and indeed for the citizen of this country, because here at Community Voices Uganda, we pay attention to the citizen out there who may not be on any of the tables in the politics, but is so much one, interested, but two, is the one to be affected by whatever happens from the persons on the top. Joining me here to discuss that is a panel of distinguished citizens of this beautiful country, Uganda, who will speak to us briefly before we get into the depth of the conversation. I will start with Tamali Auma. Tamali is an aspiring woman councillor, LOC5, in Alito Town Council, that is Kole District. Tamali, greetings and you're welcome to the conversation, and perhaps you will share with us, I don't know whether you are in Kole today, how is your environment today?
Greetings, Philips, and the viewers and the listeners out there, and specifically my people, my voters of Kole, Alito Town Council in particular. I am excited to be a panelist today, and I must say that this conversation is something that's so close to my heart. And whereas I am not contesting as a member of parliament, but as a leader, I am always interested in discussing the politics or leadership of this country. Phipps, I'm not in Kole right now, but I'm in one of my homes. That's why you're saying today my background is not. It's so green because it's filled with nature. It has a lot of trees. Every side you turn is green. So, but I'm not in Kole. I'll be there tomorrow. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Tamali, for joining us, and greetings to your voters. And certainly, we can't wait to hear what you share with us in the course of this conversation. On the call, we have Councilor Collines Himbaza. Collines is a legal associate with Nabasa and Company Advocates. Collines, greetings. You're welcome to the conversation, and how is where you are?
Good morning once again, everyone. I'm Himbaza Collines. I'm grateful to be here. I'm sure I know what we're going to discuss today is important, depending on what has been taking place. As Philip said it, since Wednesday, we have seen our leaders being nominated, others were not nominated. So we need to look through that so that we can also learn. If tomorrow, me, who wishes one day, one time to be a leader, what steps do I need to undertake so that I can be part of that? So generally, and what will people be expecting out of? So I'm grateful to this time, and I'm grateful that you are here. I think we shall discuss it, and we shall learn, and we shall learn from one another, and we shall appreciate one another. Thank you very much, Philip, for hosting me. I'm available to learn from each and everyone. Thank you very much, Philip.
Thank you, Councilor Himbaza, for joining us, and indeed, we can't wait to learn from you as well during the course of the conversation. On the call too, we have Mr. Fracis Opio. Opio is the head of governance, policy, and advocacy at Kabarole Research and Resource Center. Fracis, greetings and welcome to this conversation.
Yes, good morning. Sorry about that. I would like to say good morning once again to you, Phillip, and my fellow panelists, and also to those that are listening in and viewing us at this moment. I would like to apologize for my background. I'm actually on road. I decided to stop to try and contribute. Phil mentioned it. Phillip, can you hear me?
Yes, you had a challenge a little bit, but you're back now.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I was saying that Phillip has already introduced me, and I'm really happy to be back again. I think I made my maiden appearance on this space, I think back in March or April, and I'm really honored to be back again and looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fracis, for joining us. And colleagues, we are discussing nomination of members of parliament, and unlike the other processes that have happened in the nominations, including the presidency, looking at people in the local governments, chairpersons, LOC5, and so on, these are people who are quite close to the electorate, but oftentimes we hear stories of, oh, we elected this particular member of parliament, and since then we've not seen him in the constituency, but we've also not seen this person at the floor of parliament. And certainly you all are going to assist me in understanding what actually members of parliament do in the different communities where you spend your lives from. But I want to start with you, Fracis, from the perspective of governance and looking at these processes. Overall, from the observations you've made, what can you say about the nomination, the 2 days of nomination of members of parliament? Of course, I know right now there are some constituencies where I know there is a constituency where a member of parliament, an aspiring candidate, was nominated and they passed on after nomination, and the Electoral Commission is undertaking nomination again in those spaces. But generally, from your observation, what did you see, and would you say that it was a very, very successful activity conducted by the Electoral Commission? Yes, Fracis.
Thank you, Phillip. I think that is a very good question. For me, my observation of this just recently concluded nomination exercise by the Electoral Commission, I would like to say that I give really a big thumbs up to the security agencies. Though, of course, we saw a few pockets of, I think, certain behaviors that were really uncalled for. But by and large, I would like to say that the conduct was relatively peaceful in certain areas, or most of the areas, with the exception of a few, where we saw some people being prevented from entering nomination grounds. And then we also see that there are quite a number of silence. Phillip and colleagues, if you've been around this country each and an election year, you will clearly see that in the past elections, you could see after nominations of members of parliament, after nominations of the presidents, there could be so much jubilation from the electorates, because they know, yes, we've nominated the person that will represent us, and we're happy that he has finally fulfilled the the mandate of nomination, because you can't run without being nominated. But this time round, Phillip and colleagues, I've seen quite a number of silence that you see a member of parliament being nominated, whereas we agree that the EC guidelines say there is no need for processions and everything. But we've seen it done in the past, and there's been quite dead silence from the electorates. I don't know what this means. Either there is a lot of fatigue from the electorates, and also perhaps electorates are kind of tired of the fact that even if you nominate the person, the electoral results may not be as favorable as they may think. So for me, I think it's something that we really need to reflect on as a country, because elections are meant to really for us to identify those who will really represent us in these different positions, but also send our voices to the places where we cannot be. So to see that there was a lot of silence during this period of nomination, there was the security was okay, but also we saw some pockets. I think it also reads into what we are going to see when the MPs start full campaigns come next month. What for me excited me was also seeing that some people, some candidates, flew in with helicopters to go for nomination. For me, this was quite kind of comic in a way. You're already showing, I don't know what message he was trying to send, but personally, I think it wasn't really called for, because people are grappling. If you look at the states of affairs in the country, we have very poor roads. We have, children studying under trees. We are lacking good medical health care. For you to fly in a chopper, it's your prerogative to do that. You have the money, yes. But for a person to do that, for me, I found it very comic, and it wasn't really necessary. But finally, as I conclude, Phil, the fact that there are quite a number of people who came in unopposed, I think there are about 6, including the current speaker and deputy speaker. This is something that we really, really need to reflect on. Was this unopposed run really, a fair unopposed run, or there were some things that we really, really need to dig deeper into to understand why such sensitive positions would really come unopposed? And I clearly know, following the states of affairs in some of those constituencies, I clearly know there were members of opposition, but at the end of the day, we have unopposed aspirants. We look to see what the coming days will tell us. Thank you. Back to you, Phil.
All right. Thank you so much, Francis. You give us quite an observation of the proceedings during nomination, and we appreciate that, including raising fundamental issues around how security generally was behaving so well, save for the few instances you talk about, but also the monetary conduct in terms of how much people were willing to invest in whether it is exciting or easing their participation in the process. And we discussed that and more as we continue with the conversation. Tamali, I want to hear from you as we build up on what actually happened. You see, we've seen very many candidates, and Francis here talked about the people that came out unopposed. And I want to find out from you, what actually informs the kind of candidate that comes out to contest in a particular constituency? Is it the needs of the people? Is it personal needs? What informs the fact that it should be Tamali to stand for the LOC5 councillor of your particular location? What is that?
Thank you so much, Phillip, and thank you so much, Francis, as well, for the insight that you've given. Phillip, even before I go to the question specifically, I really want to also say something about the situation. I love it that Francis brought the situation from where he is, and I think we are in 2 different regions at this point, and I would also want to bring this from where I am right now. Nominations for parliamentary elections, I can say in Laon sub-region where I come from and where I am right now. Whereas Fracis was saying it was a calm event, ours is a little bit different. Phillips and everyone, allow me tell you that Laon sub-region right now, I don't know whether I should say that it is the hottest sub-region, though I have not heard like from those other regions except the one that Fracis has just mentioned. But what I can say that what we are seeing or what we saw, it is a very hotly contested area. I don't know whether it's because the president started his campaigns from here and probably set the stage for people to have this political mindset. Nominations for members of parliament, I think in Lao was a matter of competing even for crowds, let alone even competing for votes itself, but crowds. We saw people, ferry supporters from different places where in their electoral areas to come to the venue where they are going to address their first rallies. And I happened to be in Lira City that day. For those 2 days I was in Lira City. So I saw people, ferry supporters from all walks of life, to come and be there for their nominations. Those who have seen from social media saw the crowds. Some crowds were even almost bigger than the one for the president. And I can say that that tells you how people here are minding a lot about the elections that is coming, because by the fact that someone can sacrifice their time to go and be there to listen to their candidate, to show support, to jubilate along with their candidates because they have been nominated, tells you what it would look like as we go along with the campaigns. Yes, I want to also credit security, like Fracis said. I think security did its best, though we had still issues of theft, with crowds. Yes, that one is unavoidable sometimes because crowds overwhelm security at some point, because we had the number of people complaining of theft. There were stolen phones, bicycles, motorcycles, and the likes. But in managing the crowd itself, yes, security did its best to control the crowds to where they have been called or to the venues that they have been called. So businesses were not so much affected, though when people take away crowds, of course, the town becomes a little bit lousy. So the business that was affected is just because people were not so present that day to purchase things.
Tamali, if you allow
Yes.
me, because you said the crowds were very, very big, and you said that some of them for particular candidates were bigger than those of the presidential candidates. Should I then assume that actually in Lango sub-region, and particularly Lira City that you talk about, should we say that the candidates that were actually out for nomination are the candidates that the citizens are very well relating with, and indeed these are the people that the society has chosen to lead with?
Phillips, I have to just be specific, and I mentioned these candidates. These are 2 ministers. We have had about 2 ministers: Minister for Gender, Labor and Social Development, then Minister for Health, Dr. Jane Ruth, and Amoy Betty. 2 ministers competing for 1 seat in Lira City, the Lira City Woman Member of Parliament. I think Uganda will witness the most hotly contested seat in Lira City for the first time, because we are looking at 2 giants. We can't even tell. Even I have been in politics for some times, and I've always predicted that this person will take the day. But as I talk, I don't know if there is someone in Lira City who can ably and confidently say that it is either Dr. Jane who is going to take the day or Amoy Betty going to take the day. We don't know, because when you look at those crowds, you wonder who is loved most and who is not loved. We just don't know. Phillips, you need to just go and see these crowds, and then you compare with those of the president, the ones that the crowds that he got in Lao sub-region. You will believe me that these candidates got bigger crowds than the president. And I was actually shocked personally that they could do that. I don't know how, but I am still in so much anticipation to see how it goes. But diving to the question that was asked specifically, what informs my intentions or someone's intentions to go and run for a seat, like a parliamentary seat? I think, Phillips, I can say the first thing, when I talk of ability, you can't just wake up when you don't see yourself as someone who is capable of doing something, and then you just go maybe because you have the money or what. But the ability, like for myself, I am contesting, though at a lower level, to go to the district council. But before I took that decision, I looked at myself. I said, this is a role that requires me to be this, and that. Do I meet the qualities that these responsibilities that this particular position would require? Do I meet it? And I think it is also what informs other candidates' decisions to take a particular position, including the presidency. You can't just wake up and then you say, I'm going to contest for the president, when you do not see the ability in you that you can really govern a country, a nation of
Tamali.
over. I don't know. Yes, please.
Tamali, you say
Yes.
that you look at the ability in yourself, but oftentimes you hear politicians telling us that, oh, it is the people that have brought me, it is the people that have sent you. How do the people actually give you that message?
I think when someone said that the people have sent them, I think somehow I can say they have jumped a step. Because before the people send you, you also need to look at yourself. There is people sending you, and then you look at yourself as that right now I am not in a better position. I am not able to take on this mantle at this point in time. Look at all of us. When we look at ourselves, yes, we can. We have the qualifications. Majority Ugandans have qualifications to be the president, because academically, you find that it is something just, I think, first degree. For member of parliament, it's just a senior sixth certificate. And you see that very many of us can go there if we are to just be called. But there is beyond the qualification. You have to look at yourself if you can manage, because elections it's not just going to be waking up one day and then you go straight to the ballot. Do you have the potential to even run a campaign? Phillips, I'm now bringing the aspect of preparation. Are you prepared enough?
As you conclude on that.
Mentally, financially, and in all other aspects, are you prepared enough to do that? Because there is also having the ability, and then at the end of the day, as you go along, you disappoint your entire task force and the people who are supporting you, because you can't even sustain just a small debate. You can't stand in front of people and elaborate your campaign manifesto. There is too much that you need to do within yourself, even before you say you're presenting yourself as a candidate for a particular position. For now, let me first pause. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Tamali, for that. And you give us good information there. And building on related information, Collines, I want to hear from you, because you see, Tamali here tells us people looking at their capabilities and looking at the possibility of them going through the campaign. But from the side of the citizens that are waiting to cast their vote come January 2026, what should these citizens actually look out for in a person that is contesting for a member of parliament, for them to make that choice for that person that will be good for their constituency and largely the country? Yes, Collines.
Thank you, Phillip. I will say good morning to the team, to the entire panel we are having this morning. I will say it, I'm grateful that this morning I'm in Lila, based on what Auma has been saying. Putting into consideration what every member has put across, I would like to say that we are there, us being there, but there is something that I would first want to talk about. As citizens, what would we be looking at? I will first tell you that, Mr. Phillip, nominations are fundamental stages in a democratic cycle. I don't know whether you're getting that. A nomination is a fundamental stage in a democratic cycle. It being in a what do I try to mean here? That when we are nominating our leaders, it does not only stop on the law, but it has to be a procedural step that should be undertaken. I will put this to a question to each and every one of us in this debate this morning, even to the entire country, to those who are listening in. Me, I'm still not happy in what we call nominations. As Philip was saying, as Fracis said it, people come with helicopters, people come in an extravagant way that doesn't mean that we are doing this for the sake of our communities. What do I mean? I would think that on a nomination day, because I've been always told people that me, I'm not a politician and I don't support any political party either, but I would want to look on the procedure. When we are nominating someone, what the instance of nomination? Not only you presenting that you have age, you have the documents, you have the papers, you have qualifications. We go back to the grassroots of yourself. Who are you and what have you done? It will take back to the people who have been in power. You've been in parliament for 5 years. I would think that on nomination day, we get neutral parties. They sit down on that panel with the electoral commission. They ask you, you've been in parliament for 10 years. You had a manifesto you gave people. Did you live to fulfill your manifesto? If you've not, they kick you off from there. We have been having competent leaders because our election committee does not scrutinize them very well. Leave alone that I've got signatures, I have 100 signatures from certain communities. Yes, Phil.
Collins, is that not now handing the responsibility of citizens to a committee of the electoral commission? Because if you're saying the electoral commission should not nominate this person based on his or her failure to deliver on what they promised in the previous campaign, first of all, even his right to contest as a citizen of this country, but two, how does it be fair for the person that an incumbent, but also a new person that has not contested? How do you rate the new person?
Phil, coming back to you, I'm coming to why I was looking at that. That was my analysis. Why am I doing that? This is that now Uganda will no longer have a citizen voice out of this. You can bear a witness that Auma said, we even need money to prepare ourselves for this. Citizens no longer have a time to look on their leaders. What they look at is money. They cannot assess their leaders. So if our citizens are afraid to assess our leaders, why can't now a neutral body be able to help us to assess the leaders who have been in power? Coming back to someone who has not been into leadership and is coming on the first time, living along the incumbent, we also need to track his experience. That's why we have this end of saying, you're the leader of tomorrow. That's why we even go to communities, we have grassroots levels, we have, let's say we've gone to school, you know what has been happening in school, you've been a leader there, in your community, what have you done? So that at least if you're coming to contest as a leader, we know that however much the community has endorsed you, but you're capable to deliver. So electoral commission, which would be neutral, would also be able to ask those questions, not to ask only signatures, which you've got from people whom we've bribed with money to sign for you. So when I go deep into what we have been having ahead, what we have been looking at in these elections, in these nominations, Philip, you better believe with me that I can simply have a tension of expectations and a practice that has been out. We have been having commercialized politics, and this is not going to stop. This is not going to stop. On the nomination day, as my colleague said it, Fracis said it, you wake up in the morning, you have a helicopter with you, and your ex will say that I want to be in skies and I see the data loads that I'm going to come and work on. Are you only coming to work on the roads? We have the clinics, we have the hospitals. They also need your time. They also need, how will you see them when in the helicopter? Don't only look at the loads. Look on other things that people need. We are going to look on this thing of nomination again. Nomination is also not done to the expectations of people. That's time I was saying people, being a leader does not mean that you should be having affiliated to a political party. No, we are looking at loyalty. Loyalty is also affecting leadership in this country, however much someone's been nominated. You're being nominated out of loyalty. I may not be in position to justify or defend it, but we have leaders who have been nominated because of loyalty to their political parties. That's why we're having people even unopposed because of loyalty. But even though you're loyal to your boss or to your political party, what are the people down there saying? Why don't you want to be in this democratic place? As I said, nomination is one of the fundamental stages in democracy cycle. Why don't you want to be opposed? Because you're not only the people that in the community they want, even other people have their people they want to see them, present them. However much you're going to come and win them, but let's give them a chance to stand. That those who were unopposed out of will, and those have been unopposed out of, I can say, loyalty and what is taking place in the country. I'll go back to NUP. Me, I will not fail to balance the two parties. I'll look at NUP. NUP has nominated leaders because they are loyal to the principle. You bring someone out, that's why I was saying that electoral commission should also help us to assess these people. However much your party has sent you, what are you bringing for us, for the nation? Electoral commission is not an institution on its own. It's an institution for the entire country. Someone is nominating a musician. Yes, you may be qualified. You may be having the years. You may be having the papers. But tomorrow you're a comedian. You're going to go to parliament to start comedy for us. Come out and say, I'm capable, I'm a leader, I've been doing this. Look on the qualities of the people we are having. By the way, I'm telling you, that house is the house, it's a brain of the nation. I can sure I tell you, Parliament is a brain of the nation. It being a brain of the nation, we need to have even the last person on the dot represented, not representing ourselves alone, who are in that house. So when we go to look on those barriers, loyalty, we are looking on commercial. I mean, I'm going to vote so and so because as man. I'm going to vote so and so because has given me this. In the nomination list, you're being nominated because of paid money and or you've accumulated all the signatures. It does not make what democracy is. Democracy is a process that we even assess, even as the leaders. Before I give you my signature to nominate you, I have to assess you. Are you going to meet my expectations? Are you ready to serve me? Are you not going to deviate from the rule of law somewhere, somehow? Are you not going to deviate from what you told me from the day one? So we need to look on those things and appreciate that however much I'm being nominated because I have money, I can run this race. As you are saying, in Leagl, there are two now giants who are there for the women MP representative of the city. How is the country going to mitigate this? How is it going to be mitigated? Are they the only people that we should be looking at? Are they not also making the voices of those who are just coming to the race not to be heard? So how does the government mitigate this? We have seen people going for nomination in government vehicles. Would that be the way that should nomination look like? The time you're being
Thank you,
nominated,
Collines.
okay. Mr. Phillip, as I'll conclude by saying that let us look on nomination themselves as the democratic health of our nation. They tell us what we are going for. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you so much, Collins, and a couple of proposals in there in terms of having the Electoral Commission look at the performance of incumbents, but also looking at the citizens themselves first assessing the performance of the candidates before they get to trust them with the leadership positions in the coming future. Thank you for that. And we are still on Community Voices Uganda here on Civic Space TV. We are having a conversation around the members of parliament. Nominations happened, campaigns are starting, and certainly we are looking at what should an MP look like, and certainly who should Ugandans consider to represent them in that August House. Francis, I come back to you. There is a series of challenges in this country, whether you discuss unemployment, whether you discuss education, the health sector. There is many challenges, and I want to hear from you. First of all, do the candidates we see being nominated across the board, members of parliament, presidential candidates, do they understand the challenges affecting the citizens of Uganda? If they do, how can they demonstrate to the citizens that they do understand, but most importantly, do they actually look like people that have solutions to the challenges that the citizens are facing? Yes, Francis.
Yes, thank you so much, Phil and colleagues, for the insights. On the question of whether the people that are being nominated and those that are seeking office, whether they do understand the realities on ground, the sufferings of the people of the country. I think, from my own personal opinion, many of these aspirants are detached from the realities, the sufferings of people. Many of them, when they are sick, many of them will be flied out of this country. They will be airlifted out of this country. When you look at the apportioning of the budgets, you will see that the first thing a person would want to do is to see that they have, the most heaviest vehicle in terms of consumption of fuel, the most fastest vehicle, a vehicle with, gas shocks, air shocks, because they know the roads that they pass through are not very good. So they would really want to go for those vehicles that can shock them from some of the bumps along the road. When you look at the insurance packages that they take in the house, it is just alarming. And for me, that means that they do not, in a way, comprehend the issues, the challenges, the realities of the people that they are going to lead. And many times when you try to engage with them, I have some of them who are my personal friends, and when I try to ask them, you clearly see that some are just saying, well, politics has now become a job. It is no longer a calling to serve, per se. It's a job. It's like you and me, Phillip and Madrid, trying to apply for a position, and you're given, and then you are supposed to be earning from it. It is now for them, it's a job. And that's why you see many young people are trying to yearn to go into this house, because one, it has quick gains. In 5 years, I mean, you're getting about 40 plus millions in addition to allowances and everything. You can afford a diplomatic passport. You can travel. They have all those allowances that they are supposed to use for traveling. Now, if somebody is going into the house being motivated by the fact that I can get these quick gains, forget about you having medicine in the lowest health center in a sub-county or a parish. Forget about having good roads. Forget about having good schools. Forget about teachers being paid well, because at the end of the day, I mean, teachers are the ones who have actually produced us as we speak right now. But then when you enter that house, which my brother Collins says it's the brain of the country, for me, I would like to say it's actually the spine, the backbone of this country. That this is where, if I'm to sit, if I'm to stand, this is what is supposed to actually enable me have all these movements, because the spine is the central nervous system, right? It communicates with all these parts of the body. Now, if the central nervous system of this country, which is the legislative house, is full of people who would want to see that, oh, we can actually debate on the payment of a teacher and then say this particular teacher qualifies to have more than this particular teacher. I mean, at the end of the day, we really can't understand where these people are coming from. For me,
But
the increase is
Francis,
okay.
look, and you mentioned that it is in education, but broadening this issue a little more. You see, all these political parties, for example, have party manifestos, and when you look through, you see that they are mentioning about these challenges. They are talking about technology, they are talking employment, education, health, infrastructure, the roads and airports and so on. They are speaking about these things. When you listen to the Forum for Democratic Change, they are telling us that they want to put money in the pockets of people. When you listen to the NRM, they are telling us protecting the gains, but also talking about having a qualitative leap into middle income status, and all these other parties. They are promising something to improve on those particular things. But even beyond that, we have, for example, the National Development Plan. What I'm saying is we have things on paper that should actually guide the conduct, the decisions of these politicians in offices. What happens in between the parliament, I don't know, state house, cabinet, judiciary, between there and what they're supposed to do to see us progress as a nation? What stops them from delivering this?
You see, Phil, I'm a Ugandan, and when I see the states of affairs within this country, I cry for this country. I cry for a country that our children will inherit. I cry for the country that we currently live in. Why? Because, Philip, growing up, I witnessed a system where teachers never used to pay for accommodation. I witnessed a system where doctors never used to pay for accommodation. I witnessed a system where roads were constructed and they last for generations. I witnessed a system where civil servants, those who are serving us at the district level, at the central government level, they never used to pay accommodation. They never even used to pay for their children's school fees. The government even used to give them food. I had an uncle who was in public service, and he would often visit, and you find that at a monthly level basis, they give them food, basics like beans, posho and everything, right? Now, that is a period where a civil servant was happy to serve a nation. A teacher was happy to step into class and teach the children. A doctor was very happy to step into a theater and do an operation. That was the period that we were in. But if we were to juxtapose that period and what we are seeing today, we've seen a period where legislators have made decisions to sell off cooperatives. We are in a period where legislators have decided to increase the pay of some people, increase the pay of themselves in the house, to decrease the pay of a doctor. When they are sick, where do they go? When their children are sick, where do they go? I mean, we need to start reasoning and be objective to the realities of this country. Because for me, it doesn't make sense if somebody who is literally sitting maybe 2 times a week to deliberate on issues, and then a doctor who is on a 24/7 hour shift is getting peanuts. We really have to reflect on some of these things, Phillip and colleagues. We have to reflect on some of these things. So going back to your question that there are guidelines and they keep talking about, oh, we are going to do ABCD, we are going to do ABCD. Phillip, that is just lip service. People are looking for where they can eat from. People are looking for where they can eat from.
All right. Thank you, Francis, for that. People are looking for where they can eat from. What a statement. Tamali, I want to hear from you. You see, we've seen in a series of constituencies, I don't know, you will tell us which political party you're running on. And we see the contention between, first of all, the opposing political parties, but we also have parties where the party gave out a party card to a specific person, and then you have someone who lost the primary is also contesting on the same position. Some of them they say, I am an NRM leaning independent, I am an NUP leaning independent. How is this playing out in your area, and do you think it will affect the performance of political parties in this particular election? Yes, Tamali.
Oh, thank you very much, Phillip. First of all, I am contesting on the UPC ticket. I am the flag bearer, whereas I have other candidates, another candidate from the ruling party. But what I can say from the question you've asked, independent candidates contesting against flag bearers and how, if it can affect the performance of flag bearers in specifically party candidates. Well, I can say yes, because when we go back to when parties, different political parties organize primary elections, we see that people come in to fight for the flag, to contest, to hand themselves the flag for the party. And earning the flag, yes, in some political parties, having the flag would earn you some other benefits, like financial support and in mobilization and all that. That's why people, first of all, contest to earn the flag. Otherwise, without such support, everyone would just choose to go independently. But coming back to whether it affects, yes, it can affect. If I ran, like I ran in the UPC primary elections, and someone also ran in the NRM primary election, look at the support that someone had during the primary elections, and if they took a decision to contest independently, how many more supporters from the party are they going to move with to the independent voting queue? How many are they going to move with? Because each candidate has supporters, whereas other candidates do not really have supporters, but you will still find that about 1 or 2 people are following the other person. But then if such a candidate who lost in the primaries chooses to go independently, it affects. The reason, Phillips, we have always seen the big man of the country has always summoned, most times, the NRM parliamentary flag bearers, those ones who have lost and wish to go independently. Sometimes previously we have seen him summon them and talk to them, and some have actually abandoned their intention of contesting as independent candidate, something that I'm shocked that this time didn't happen. I don't know whether their party no longer cares, but in my party, the UPC, it is still happening. They negotiate with a person who lost to step step down and support the candidate, because at the end of the day, the win is not for you, the party alone. It is also for you yourself, but then it is also for the party. Like when we look at the benefits that comes in parliament, it is not there with us in the local government though, but in parliament, the opposition party that sends the highest number of people, we all know that comes with some benefits. There is that money that they get. I don't know how they call it, but there is that money that they are paid. They are paid, the leading opposition party. So you find that whereas people want to take up government, you realize that there is a second option. If you don't take the government as the head of state, your political party can as well send a majority number of people in parliament, then the benefits, of course, will be yours. The reason I think why people do not want independent candidates to come up, we have seen most of some even emerge victorious at the end of the day, independent candidates. And then I'm also not going to forget to talk about the irregularities that happen in primary elections. You know, primary elections, we are dealing with a smaller number of people, and a smaller number of people, I am not shy or ashamed to say that manipulating a smaller group of people is easy. And we have seen this, why we have heard of petitions. I have not heard of it in the UPC. I think because I am proud to say that ours is always a free and fair, but we have heard of petitions that Tanga has got a lot of petitions that the elections weren't free and fair. There were irregularities. Some were actually won and people went back for a rerun. Some were dismissed. But that should inform you that there are lots of irregularities in the primary elections, even almost more than the general elections. So if there are irregularities, we have to accept that some independent candidates can really win, and we have seen them win. So yes, it can affect. What I cannot of it that it cannot affect, it also depends on the number. Yes, Phillip.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to propose you a little bit on that one, but maybe before I let you go, to let you know that there is a petition at presidential level in the UPC, even though you do not have a presidential candidate. Partly the reason is because of some disagreements among the top 3 individuals in your party, the Honorable Jimmy Akena, the Honorable Peter Walubiri, and the Honorable Joseph Okello. So certainly there is some sort of petition court cases in the UPC as well. And but thank you for that. And you give it to us quite well.
That it didn't arise from a primary elections. Ours is a constitutional issue. The UPC constitution wasn't amended to
the party.
Yes, the presidency, and they base on the constitution, which I can't say right now that the petitioners are right or the president is right. That one I'm leaving it to court, but it didn't arise from the primary elections. There are actually no petition of primary elections in the UPC party.
All right, thank you so much, Tamali, for that. And Collines, I want to hear from you briefly on this matter. You see, Parliament is part of the roles of Parliament is legislation, and we are looking at creating or making laws that are in specialized sectors. You talk about aviation, whether you want to talk about banking, and we are saying that we need an S6 candidate to go out there and debate around banking. I want you to speak about the competence, the quality of the members of parliament. Do you think these are persons that can actually go out there and do good work in terms of putting in place laws that speak to these specialized departments like banking, like aviation, engineering, artificial intelligence? We're talking ICT now. Yes, Collins.
Philip, thank you once again. Thank you, team. Thank you, Philip, for the question. I'm grateful for the question, actually, but I will still come to the point of saying Parliament itself, as my colleague put it across, Fracis. Fracis said, Parliament is a backbone. It's a backbone of our nation. And in this entire procedure, we always look at, we need to look at Parliament being the mirror of the last person at home, at the last community in Uganda. Parliament is a mirror of that person. Be it in Kisoro where I come from, be someone who's from Kalenga, someone from Bale, Parliament is your mirror that reflects what takes place in your entire community. Philip, for the question you've asked me, we'll need to look at competency. This is what I was telling you, that what is always sent in that house. How has our electoral commission helped us? Because us at the lower grassroots level, as the nominees or the voters, we are always corrupted, bribed by these people's financial status. We are no longer bribed by their words. I don't know whether you can believe with me that whatever they say, we are no longer bribed by them, but we are bribed by money, by their financial status. The moment they get there, what do you expect from them? I'll surely be unfair to say this. Last time, the course of judicature ruled on the UPDF, the tribunal, the court martial. But it was the same parliament again that moved the law and they amended the law, saying that civilians still needs to be tried in that court martial. Philip, isn't it a contradictory of ourselves in the rule of law? Having people who don't know even what court ruling is. The court, the law has already ruled it out. And you're saying that, no, we need to amend because I've already put 100 million in your dockets, but you don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. Whenever we are deliberating on the laws, we don't only make laws for ourselves, we make laws for the future. What Fracis was saying, what are our generations going to find? If you're passing the law, you should be aware of that law. We should be able to be sending creditable members of the community in that house. If you're talking about civil aviation, I think that's why even Parliament, they had created these committees. We have Park, we have the COSESA. I thought by the time they created these committees, they should have put into consideration that this person who sits on this committee or heads this committee is well versed with this thing. It will still go back to us, to the Attorney General, because I know the Attorney General, they're the ones who now drafts these laws. You get Mr. Phil? The Attorney General's office, they're the ones who draft these laws. But now, what do they draft? Because they draft what Parliament has deliberated on, has debated on. They only come to represent the law to read the first, they read the law the first time, the second time, the third time, until the law is sent to the president. And when disfavoring, then the law is passed. Even the law tells you that when the president does not assent to this law which has been passed, Parliament has got the mandate again to pass this law. But do these people scrutinize? Yes.
Collins, are you of the view that the qualifications of members of Parliament should be revised to a standard that is a bit higher?
I will accept with you, but to me, if I bring the idea, it will seem to be a conflict of interest, because me being in the legal field, I would even want to say that the people who should be sitting in that house,
But you're a citizen.
They should be citizens. Yes, we should revise that law. Who should sit in that house? Which level of qualification do you have? And who are you? And what makes you feel you can get in that house? Leave alone the laws that pass. You leave alone the age. We have even ever had the youngest MP in Parliament of below 20 years. Zaki entered that Parliament when he was young. But what has he done?
What she was 19.
Yes, we have got who have entered there when they're young. But what did they bring to the table? You be in that house and go for 5 years, you've never talked anything. You've never put something across that everyone day one time when you live and seated in your home, you're 80 years. I've got MPs who can say, I contributed on this, I contributed on this law. And the law has been sufficient and has been working for us. But when you sit in your back in your home, let's say you've lost or you've won, you're no longer in that house. What will you tell people that you ever did in that house? So
All right.
we
Thank
need
you,
to look at those
Collins.
things. Yes.
Please, if you can conclude on that one.
No, I'm concluding, Mr. Phillip, by saying that let us appreciate that before us people are called to vote, are called to nominate our candidates, do we have a neutral ground that is going to scrutinize them before they enter that house? We need an independent body and a neutral body. We can even add an independent body on EC, Electoral Commission, to scrutinize these people and understand their capacity, because nomination is losing meaning by them bribing for signatures. After them getting signatures, they want to enter and make money, as my colleague said. But how do they enter there?
Thank you so much,
What
Collins. And I unfortunately have to cut you short in the interest of time. Our time is really very much fast spent. But you really give us very important points there, including emphasizing the need of the neutral body, the independent body that should look out for the qualification and competence of persons standing for positions of leadership. Thank you so much for that. And colleagues, our time is very much fast spent. I see we have about 10 or 12 minutes to be out of here, but I will want to have one more round with you. And starting with you, Fracis, I want to hear, you see, we have different stakeholders in these electoral processes, whether it is the civil society or the media, whether it is religious institutions or cultural institutions. How can specifically civil society and media participate in these processes and assist citizens to really have good choices made for the persons they choose for leadership? Quite briefly, sir.
Yes, thank you, Philip. But I would like to comment briefly on the issue of the age before I come to the role of civil society and media. You see, Philip, I don't think to be able to understand what somebody is going through in Kisoro, what somebody is going through in Gulu or Arua, what somebody is going through in the central Kampala and perhaps Tororo at the border requires somebody, it's rocket science. I don't think it's rocket science. I want to tell you quite frankly that my mom, who never went so deep into education, if you asked her of the needs of the people of the village where I come from, she'll clearly tell you what the needs are, and she'll clearly propose some solutions to some of those needs. So the idea of saying that perhaps we need to only have PhDs in that house, I think whereas I understand that the comprehension levels can differ, because somebody may need to understand some of the policies, do comparative analysis and everything, I think people can be mentored. We've seen members of parliament who have come in very raw, but they have gone ahead to deliver. They have delivered. Of course, all other factors constant. You know, in the House, you're not the only one legislating. You're legislating against numbers from perhaps the opposition party or from the ruling party and so forth and so forth. But I think there are people who are good-willed. They may not have gone so deep into education, but they kind of relate to the realities that we're going through. And I think, I know Parliament does a lot of mentorship in trying to make sure that even somebody who, let's say, is a primary one dropout can perhaps catch up along the way. It's all about the will to make sure that you try to cope up and do what you're supposed to do. That is my comment on that. On the issue of civil society and media, I just want to say that to a certain extent, some of these media houses and civil societies have tried their level best to do a lot of civic awareness, making sure that people understand that if I'm electing Fracis, I should elect Fracis on the basis of what he's able to do and what he's able to deliver in that house. Is he able to pick my voice from where I stay and make sure that it is mirrored in the conversation at the national level? Is he able to lobby for different things that we need? Is he able to network for the sake of the region that he's representing? So we've done quite some bit of civic awareness on what the roles of a member of parliament are, try to make sure that they know that, well, it is not just about attending barrios that qualifies somebody to be a member of parliament. Recently, I was in some space where somebody said, but Fracis, you people are teaching us all these civic things. You're telling us qualities of a good leader, what they should do, what, you know, how they should be role models to the young people and so forth and so forth. But this is a person, and you're telling us, I quote, that you're asking us not to be bought, that we were telling them, you know, we are trying to sensitize them on around issues of, you know, the current commercialization of politics and everything. And we're telling them, you should not sell your vote, because your vote is your voice. If you now sell it out, perhaps this person that is buying it is not able to actually voice your concerns where it's supposed to be. And it was quite an interesting question that we keep pondering on as colleagues who went in that space, but also as a country. Somebody is saying that when I give this person a vote, he is going to get maybe 100 millions in parliament. But here you're telling me, do not even receive the 5,000 or 10,000 that this person is giving you. And we were really puzzled by that question. And to date, it is something that we don't have an answer to, because it's a dilemma that we are caught up in as a country, that we have a population that is very poor. They don't have money, they don't have what to survive on. But here they are confronted with a person who is aspiring, who is saying, well, I can give you 50,000 for your vote, and then I go 5 years without hearing from you. So it's a dilemma. So awareness is something that we need to do as the media, because we have the platform, we have the spaces. As civil society, we need to document the concerns of people, make sure that perhaps even support in reviewing some of the policies that are existing now, because the times that we perhaps lived in are long gone, and we need to make some amendments. So I think civil society can contribute to amendments of certain policies and do some bit of awareness, but also make sure that if at some point there is need for legal redress, like my colleague Collines keep saying, there is need to have some bit of documentation. So we can play a role in making sure that we have, we document some of these processes, some of these learnings and lessons, so that the future can actually benchmark on them and say, oh, by the way, in 2025, a study was done by this particular civil society organization, and we're seeing this, and they're able to actually make a judgment based on some of the past, present, and the future. So I think for now, I'll pause here just on those three: civil society, media, do comprehensive awareness, do a lot of documentation, and also make sure that you try as much as possible to stand with the people.
All right. Thank you so much, Fracis, for that. And you give quite recommendations there for the civil society and the media. Tamali, if you're with me, there is every other time we have a growing number of members of parliament, and even this time around we are going to shift from the 529 to anything between 535 to 540, and you see, this is quite a big number. We are competing with countries such as India. We are competing with the United Kingdom in terms of numbers of members of parliament. And I want to hear from you. How does this impact on the citizen down there, especially that we know it is not just MPs, you have RDCs, still a very big number, and of course RDCs, their deputies and their assistants. Then you talk about a cabinet of about 80, you talk about presidential advisors, you talk about the councillors like yourselves, you talk about mayors, everywhere. There are very many levels of leadership in the country. How do they affect the citizen in Lira and everywhere in the country? Yes, Tamali.
Thank you very much, Phillip. And it's quite disappointing that we have to debate on things that probably or within the shortest time will not have a solution. But we will talk about it anyway. We won't stop. Talking about the number of members of parliament, you've actually broken it down and elaborated everything. Phillips and colleagues, if we all understand this country, we know where we've come from since 1986, and I can say that what we are witnessing right now is because someone has been there for too long. Even when I still see that there are a number of people who are still willing to send the big man back. Well, they have their own reasons. Those of us also have our own reasons. But what the problem that we are talking about, I call it a problem because at the end of the day, it is growing our burden. When you have a huge number of members of parliament, we even do not know. For me, actually now, I do not even know how much members of parliament are paid, because every term they keep increasing on their salaries, their emoluments, their allowances. They keep on increasing. But talking about the numbers specifically, vis-a-vis how much we have to spend on each MP in terms of salaries and allowances, you look at the burden that the taxpayer carries at the end of the day. And this also informs the reason as to why, it's one of the reasons as to why Uganda is so much indebted. Our debt burden, instead of reducing, each year it continues to increase. But when you look at the increased debt burden compared with the developments at hand, you won't really match them. And this should tell you that much of our money, much of the taxes, much of the loans that Uganda borrows goes to things like payment of members of parliament. Because let me just estimate it at 30 million. 30 million multiply with that number. We have seen even new constituencies coming up. We just recently, one was granted here with us in Laos sub-region, Aber district. That one, when Aber district is granted, well, to the locals, they look at it as something good. But when you look deep into the burden that comes with the Bear district, the administrative cost, it will come with a member of parliament, woman MP and directly elected member of parliament. It will come with a district chairman and all the technical body of the district. But if you ask yourself, is it necessary? Have we arrived that level? Look at our population compared with populations like in India, the USA. We are just 40 or 50 million people. But when you look at the number of leaders that we are having in this country, I'm even not going to talk about now ministers. Let's just zero down to the members of parliament. We are not talking about the RDCs, whose roles even we do not understand, by the way. Some of us have failed to comprehend the roles of RDCs, where we come from, because besides security, what else do they do? It's quite disappointing that we are yet to even witness a growing burden as a taxpayer. It should ask at us, and it will come back to our leaders, those that are aspiring. To me, if I were to vote, I would vote people who would bring me issues like this, that they are going to table this kind of issue. But earlier on, someone talked about loyalty, and we know that most of these people are going there in the August House, and then they are going to be loyal, especially those who come from the majority political party. They're going to be loyal and push the agenda of their political parties. But then, we really need a change in the system, but it will still take those of us electorates down here to make informed decisions when voting, because if we continue voting, people who have overstayed have quite a number of people to appease by now. By now, the president, and I can confidently say this, that the president is now just rewarding people, rewarding loyalty. Who has been loyal to me? Let me create a district. Since they cannot win elections in the other constituency, let me cover a smaller constituency so that this person can go and contest there. Some of them even go ahead, Phillips, to lobby that I need a smaller constituency because the other one is I'm not managing. Some of them even say that we need a district because the other person has not seen their potential in their potential to win in the bigger district, so they have to demand for a bare district, so that a bare they have like about five sub counties only to run around. They can become district
All
chairperson,
right.
which is very
All right.
disappointing. So the issue of
All right.
pleasing people and rewarding people is what is getting us citizens carry all this tax burden, because this
All right.
appeasement
Thank you,
policy that
Tamali.
the current government has right now is costing us a lot. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Tamali, for that. And I hope the residents of Abel district and indeed the leaders out there will not find you uncomfortable for them. But thank you for that. And Collins, lastly, I want to hear from you. Every time we have a political season, and even this time we hear opposing parties with hate speech, you hear people with abusive language towards each other, the intolerance you get to see between competing political parties and so on. Quite briefly, in your view, how do we, first of all, caution the leaders, but two, the citizens, how do we assist them to make sure they do not actually get sandwiched in these particular offensive activities by their politicians that in the end could turn out to be violent for the citizens?
Philip, thank you very much. Thank you, members, once again. Philip, it's a good question. I'll embark so much on what Mike Rick said, Mr. Fracis. We need civic education. We need to educate the voters and the supporters, the agents, and all the managers to the camps, wherever they be, what politics are. This is a one-day exercise, 2-month exercise that's going to get done, and will still be the other person without the other person who is going to be your leader. So we would look on civic education. And who should do this civic education? Philip, it's me and you and all the people here. Apart from these civic societies around that do these seminars, sensitize people about elections, I've not seen electoral commission coming out itself. Go deep to the last level, to the last village, and teach people how they are going to conduct these elections. It comes 5 years, after 5 years, people will be nominated, but the Electoral Commission, I don't know whether it has that mandate in their programs to go deep to educate people, not only being on these TVs and radio stations. It doesn't matter. Move out of TV, move out of radio stations, go deep to the village, do physical education. I've not seen it happening. Because however much we would want to support our candidate, we need to have a limit. But people don't look on that because already some of them, as I said, they're always bribed. Someone has already been given 2,000 for Chitoko. I can use an example of Walad, UG, 2,000. Someone has already given a soap, a bowl of soap. So for him telling him that other candidate, don't abuse other candidate, even our leaders, these MPs themselves, they're the ones who jeer them, give them morale to go and abuse the other ones in the other camp. Because even I've seen our MPs contesting with those vulgar languages. What do you expect from this person who's supporting them? If the MP himself or if the leader who is contesting is using that vulgar language, what about the other party? So it still goes, it rotates on civic education. And to come back to, yes. And
Yes,
to, as I
briefly,
conclude, let us also be request for accountability as the people who are being governed or are being who vote for these people. Let us always look for accountability. How to look for accountability? Let us not only, as she said, as my friend said, Tamara said, let us not emphasize ourselves on saying, me, I deserve that small portion. No, as well, before you deserve that small portion, what have you done for the other big portion where you've been? So you see that we are doing this thing, government is taking us into this because they are on divide and rule. That if I send my loyal person in that small community, those are my votes there. But before you send that person, what has he done for wherever he's coming from? I'll do an example of what is happening in Manila right now. I'm seeing among coming forever, she has been in her constituency, coming in the constituency of Achen. But before she's nominated, what has she done? Why is she learning from the other end? So we need to first have accountability of our leaders before we now start having these struggles, pull of the ropes. We mitigate them. How do we mitigate? By questioning transparency, integrity, and looking on accountability.
Thank you, Councilor Collines Himbaza. Thank you so much for sharing that. And colleagues, the conversation is still very sweet and interesting, but unfortunately our time is run out and we have to conclude on this conversation. And but I want to once again appreciate you, Councilor Collines Himbaza. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for your thoughts that you've shared with us here today. Collines is a legal associate with Nabasa and Company Advocates. Mr. Fracis Opio, thank you so much for your thoughts and for making time to join the conversation today. Fracis is the head of governance, policy, and advocacy at the KRC, Kabarole Research and Resource Center, and of course, Ms. Auma Tamali. Thank you so much for making time for the conversation and indeed for the thoughts you've had to share with us today on the conversation. Tamali is the aspiring woman councillor LOC5 in Alito Town Council. That is Kole District. Thank you so much, colleagues, for joining us, and thank you so much for the thoughts you've shared. And I know that the knowledge you've shared with us here today is beneficial not only for the viewers, the citizens that are going to be voting, but also the people in decision-making offices who are going to be listening to this and certainly will pick a point or two to use in their leadership going forward. Special thanks to you, our viewers that keep with Community Voices Uganda and indeed the wider Civic Space TV, and special thanks to all our partners, the Center for Constitutional Governance and all the others that are usually with us. And also thanks to the technical team that puts together this work so that it is after this put out on YouTube and all the other platforms so that people can view it for future reference. Thank you so much. My name is Phillip, Mulissa, and let me wish you all a very, very good day. And let me say that you may all have freedom all the time.